Hello and welcome. So, you're looking at studying in Australia and you're under 18? That's amazing. But before you pack your bags, there's a really important step you have to get right. Today, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about welfare arrangements.
All right, let's just jump right in. If you're nodding your head yes to this question, then listen up. Your visa application has a special set of rules, and it's super important that you, your parents, and your future school are all on the same page.
And I'm going to say that word again, must. Seriously, this is not a suggestion or a nice to have, it's a non-negotiable requirement. Without these arrangements sorted out and approved, your student visa application basically hits a brick wall. So, what on earth are welfare arrangements? Well, think of it as the official game plan you present to the Australian government. It's the proof that shows them you'll be safe, supported, and properly looked after the entire time you're studying. It covers the big stuff, like where you'll live and who's legally responsible for you.
Okay, first things first. Before we get into your options, let's talk about the one rule that applies to every single person under 18 applying for this visa. It's the starting point for everyone.
No matter what, your application has to have proof that your parents are on board. This is usually done with a specific document, Form 1229, and it needs to be signed by both of your parents or legal guardians. It's the government's way of making sure everyone's in agreement with you heading to Australia.
Now here's something that trips people up all the time. Let's say your 18th birthday's in June and you fly to Australia in July. Good news! The really detailed welfare rules we're about to cover won't apply to you. But, and this is a big but, you still have to provide those parental consent forms. It's a key little detail you don't want to miss.
All right, once you've got that parental consent handled, you come to a fork in the road. This is probably the biggest decision you'll make in this part of the process. You've got two main paths you can go down to meet the welfare requirement.
So here are your two choices. Option 1 is where your school, your education provider, steps in and takes legal responsibility for you. They handle everything. Option 2 is for if you have a close relative living in Australia who can be your legal guardian. Each path has its own special form, a CAW letter for the school path, or Form 157N for the guardian path.
Let's dig into that first option, the provider-approved path. Honestly, this is the most common route for students who don't have family already living in Australia.
The magic document here is the CAAW. That stands for a Confirmation of Appropriate Accommodation and Welfare. You can just think of it as a formal promise from your school to the government that says, yep, we've got this, we've approved where this student is living, and we are officially responsible for them.
And listen, the dates on this letter are so important. The CAW can't just cover your school terms. It has to cover your entire course enrollment, from day 1 right to the end, plus an extra 7 days. That little buffer is there to make sure you're covered until you either fly home or turn 18. Just a quick heads up for a couple of specific groups. If you're coming as a secondary exchange student or you're sponsored by Foreign Affairs or Defense, your paperwork looks a little different. You'll use other forms, but it still falls under this provider-approved path.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about path number 2. This one is all about nominating a guardian, and it's designed for those of you lucky enough to have eligible family members living down under.
So who can be a guardian? Well, the government is really specific about this. It has to be a close relative. We're talking parents, grandparents, siblings, aunts, or uncles. You know, your inner circle. A family friend or a distant cousin, as great as they might be, just won't cut it for this.
And here's a very simple but totally absolute rule. Your nominated guardian has to be 21 years old or older. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
The process here is pretty straightforward. Your parents back home officially nominate your relative in Australia. Then, you fill out Form 157N and gather up all the supporting documents. Oh, and here's a pro tip. If your guardian needs their own visa to stay in Australia with you, make sure you apply for both visas at the same time. It can save you from major headaches and delays later.
So what kind of documents are we talking about? Well, you'll need things like birth certificates to prove how you're related, a copy of your guardian's passport, and, this is a big one, police certificates to show they're of good character. It's all about building a strong case that they are the right person for the job.
Now, getting your visa approved is a huge milestone, but it's not the end of the story. Once you land in Australia, there are some very strict rules you have to follow to keep everything in good standing. Let's just call these the Golden Rules.
Golden rule number 1 is all about your arrival date. You absolutely cannot land in Australia before your welfare arrangements are set to begin, not even by 1 day. Arriving early is a serious breach of your visa conditions. Rule number 2, no surprise changes. If you're thinking about moving from your homestay or changing your living situation, you can't just pack up and go. You have to get written permission from your school before you make any moves. They are responsible for you after all.
And this last rule is massive, especially for those with a nominated guardian. Your guardian can't just decide to go on an overseas trip without you. They are legally required to be in Australia with you. The only exception is for a truly compelling reason, and only after brand new, temporary arrangements have been approved by the department.
And look, don't just take my word for how serious this is. The Department of Home Affairs says it plain as day on their website. This is a direct quote. If you breach your visa conditions, we might cancel your visa. It really doesn't get any clearer than that.
And what's really crucial to understand is that the consequences ripple out. If you break the rules, it's not just your visa that's on the line. Your guardian's visa could be canceled too, which could impact your whole support system in Australia.
So after all that, it really boils down to one key question for you and your family. Which path makes the most sense for your situation? Are you going to go with your school or nominate a guardian? Figuring that out and knowing the rules for that path inside and out is your ticket to a successful start for your studies in Australia.